Hey everyone, welcome to the Permission Portal with Paul Mark and Laz. I'm Paul Mark.
And I'm Laz. Let's open the portal.
So today we are rocking and rolling with this podcast and standing on some business. That's why I think today's topic is so cool. Permission to make business personal. So many times we hear people say, it's just business, it's not personal. And I actually enjoy being in a business with my friend that has my name on it, and
Yeah.
all of it is very personal. I actually like things to be customized and personal to me. So this really works. And I like that we get to do this together and we get to grow something together. And how does that feel to you, Laz?
It feels great. I mean, I've been in that place where I made business all business and took the personal out of it. There was a time where I needed to fire some people off my team, and I needed to do it, but the energy was it's just business. It's not personal. But it was personal because I had friends I was firing. That was a diseasy space.
That can be very diseasy.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like even I have a cousin who's a graphic designer, and I've talked to her about like working on projects, and she said, "You know what? I cannot work with you." And I was like, "Why?" Although I was disappointed because I was like, this is, someone I could really collaborate with.
Yeah.
I actually respected that viewpoint, like knowing how she was, her knowing herself, and her knowing me. Yeah.
I wonder, that had to be a construct. It was definitely a construct. If I'm in business with someone, I have to yell at them.
So it's not that you have to, it's like if it did go there. So it's like if there was a time where things weren't going well, or it's like, no, we're not doing that. And
Oh,
to have that boundary where it's like, no. And it's interesting. I have some friends who have learned that they can't be roommates with a friend. It's like, I
mm,
need you out of my space so that I can enjoy you when you're in my space. But if you're always in my space, that's going to get annoying. So I know specifically a friend that I once lived with in college. She
hmm.
has lived with me and with her other best friend, and she's like, yeah, being friends is great. You can live down the street, but you can't live in the same house. We realized we did our human designs, and we realized that we are too much alike. So many things that we have that are just in sync
Mm,
are those things that would rub against each other.
got it.
It's like both of us
Not
wanting,
much complimenting.
it was more like it's exact same. And so it's
Yeah.
like, ooh. And so there was a time where I was a lot more bendable,
Hmm.
and she was not. Now it's kind of switched where I'm like, okay, I've decided what are my hard boundaries. And she's like, I have no boundaries now. And I was like, yeah, that's
Right.
it.
That's dangerous.
Yeah. But it's like we really flip-flopped. As a matter of fact, they used to say that had our periods reversed. So I was a bitch most of the time, but I was extra nice when she was PMSing. and and she was like really really nice all the time, and then she was like, on fire when, at that time. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. But we would balance each other out. And so to be on that roller coaster living in the same spaces, we were constantly, doing that yin and yang thing, which
Yeah.
is great, but it's also work. So it's really good to understand that, that there are some relationships that are good when it's business, and some relationships that are good when it's personal, and to have boundaries in that. But I do love right now that I get to work with you, my friend. And even in my other business endeavors, I'm working with somebody that I'm actually friendly with.
Yep.
So it's like it's a familial thing, you know?
Friends wise, I tend to do business with friends. When the Capital Group I told you about, two of my
Yeah.
best friends, two of my best friends. All right.
Mhm.
When I moved to Dallas to get into real estate and get some experience under my belt doing real estate deals, I was the Dallas acquisitions manager of my best friend's real estate company. That
Mhm.
company dissolved a year and a half later. I was treating it like I owned it. They had to
Yeah.
dissolve. I felt some kind of way when that happened. But that's my best friend.
Yeah.
You gonna let business come in the way of that? Nah, absolutely not.
Well, and I've actually been in a smaller company. It was a talent agency that had to dissolve. And we like held hands and cried about it and talked about what it was like to actually leave the office. We really had a come together and a morning session over
Mm,
that when it was time to disband.
yeah,
And
we didn't do that.
it's interesting to be able to do that because a business is like a child. Any project that you're doing shows up energetically like a child. When you're going through the death or the transition of a business, it is like losing a child. We've seen that in relationships, the loss of a child can either bring you closer together or tear you apart. So I think it's
Hey,
important to be in that. People grieve in different ways, and we're going to be talking about that on another podcast. On
yeah.
another episode, we're going to go deeper into grieving and permission to cry and to express your emotions. But
Ooh,
there are times
to cry
when
with witness or just to cry?
to cry with witness.
Heard.
Some people just don't have the emotional bandwidth to do in front of other people, and they will kind of cocoon, and then stories come on board, constructs get in the way, emotions come on board, then you know you've lost a partner, a best friend, a confidant, whatever. I think it's important to know who you are as a person and to know the people that you're working with. And sometimes you can do great business with a person that you really can't stand.
Yep.
But it's like, I don't mind working with you,
At
but
work,
you're not coming to my house. Yeah. So that's
I couldn't be business partners with somebody I can't stand. We got to be friends. Period. For me.
I have to be able to tolerate you. And of course, there has to be a modicum of safety. Like, I have to know what I can trust you with. And not necessarily carte blanche trust, but knowing what I trust you with. And there are some people that I know are really, really good with finances that it's like, okay, I don't want to hang out with you, but I know when it comes to money, you're going to do me
Right.
right.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, you do that part. And as long as you don't mess it up, we're cool.
Well, my wife is the one who's always been great with money. So,
That's excellent. So you married into that. I tried to marry into that. That just didn't work out. Today, we have a special guest that I'm so excited to welcome. She is a mutual friend to the portal. Kelly Morgan is a business coach working at the intersection of nervous system intelligence and business strategy. Drawing from her background in hospitality, including years in Michelin-starred restaurants, she
mm,
blends somatic awareness, attachment principles, and practical consulting to help leaders create businesses that are both efficient and human-centered. So, welcome, Kelly Morgan.
to the portal.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you
Man,
both for creating this container to have these important conversations. Yep. Well, yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this today because I think that this is a really important conversation because, we're all entrepreneurs. And I think that there is a space of me witnessing this disintegration of business and things being personal. I really want to thank you both for the stories and experiences that you already just shared, because I'm like, yes, yes, yes to all of that.
Well, it's funny because you and I talk a lot and we share our stories, our epiphanies, and all the things. I will say that we've been in intimate spaces where we're just going through some things and we've been able to witness each other as we're going through this. So, for those that are not privy to that, what inspired you to change how you do business?
Yeah. So, I mean, you've already mentioned human design, and I'm a projector. So, for me, looking at systems and structures and then watching how the structure works in order to create a result is something that I am just obsessed with. I love it. It's why when I was in Michelin star restaurants, I was like, oh, I get this. This has system, structure, and flow. And then it's like, I have this ability to see where there's the bottleneck, or what's the thing that's just slightly misaligned that's actually throwing everything off.
Mm.
And that is when I started looking back at my business, at how I had been conducting myself, my relationships, and then watching all of my friends, my fellow coaches, my fellow business owners and entrepreneurs. And I'm like, there's something that's not cohesive here. There's a misalignment. And it finally clicked with me after I went through my somatic attachment practitioner training. And I was like, oh my goodness, being an entrepreneur is being a leader. And to be a leader, we have to actually have a secure attachment, or at least understand our attachment systems, so that when something comes up, we can understand what's going on and get intimate with ourselves, our triggers, and our reactions. And on top of that, businesses serve people, and people are personal. So, and actually, I grew up, my father was an entrepreneur, and I would hear the business isn't personal all the time. My brother's an entrepreneur, business isn't personal. And it kind of it felt like a little slap in the face every time someone said it to me. And finally, I was like, it feels like that's a distancing tactic, because,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed when I said it myself, that's when it really hit me, is when I used that phrase one time and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm using this to create distance from this emotional experience and the repercussion of what's happening, because this is a space of conflict that's happening. And so what I did was I realized that I didn't actually understand how to repair conflict. So I just simply distanced myself so that I didn't actually have to repair anything. And then I was like,
Mind blown. It's like,
Mm.
wow.
yeah.
So you have worked in some Michelin star restaurants. Tell us a little about that.
Whew, yeah, that was fun, intense, and I loved it and I hated it all at the same time.
What did you do? Were you a server?
So I did a lot of things.
Mm.
I was working in bars in college, and I just kept always getting put into management positions, which was super cool. But I moved to New York City from upstate New York, and I thankfully got a hookup from some friend who was working in this restaurant group. I got hired in as a host. So I was just seating people, bookings, reservations, very like face forward. And I just kind of slowly rose through the ranks. I went from host to server to bartender to lead server to general manager. And then from there, they ended up opening another place. So I ended up simultaneously managing two restaurants that were on the same street. It was crazy.
These
And
were
only
both.
one of them was Michelin. So I've gone from all of that. And then even in that, I was also managing or having to be in charge of the kitchen at one point too, in a management position to kind of keep things in check. So that was really interesting, because there's a lot on the line with that. There's reputation, there's guest experience,
Mhm.
there's quality control. And that's really where I found myself shining. But it did burn me out after a while.
You
Well,
were managing the front and the back of the house?
Yeah, it was really interesting. And that's when I got very intimate with this is personal, because what happens when this chef has a lot going on in their personal life and it's a Michelin star restaurant and they show up completely wasted to their shift. And I had to manage that and I had to deal with that because that then affects not only all of the guest experience, but that puts strain on the wait staff. And then that puts strain on me. And then that can affect the Michelin star, which a lot of people have watched the TV shows like The Bear and all these things.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like, oh, trauma. It's I've been there. I've seen that. And when we talk about being an entrepreneur and especially being, in the service industry, we get into entrepreneurship thinking, well, I'm going to be my own boss and I won't have anybody else to answer to. And then you end up answering to every single one of your clients. So you trade in one boss for hundreds or thousands, and it's interesting to manage that, balance that, especially running from one business to another or juggling multiple businesses. And you're like, okay, which hat do I have on right now? What am I doing?
Because I love what you brought up there, talking about thinking that when we want to stop working for one boss so we can work for ourselves. And I think that even for myself, I didn't realize how many skills I needed to increase, but that the one that was the most important was my leadership. And leadership is talked about a lot. And we talk about the millionaire mindsets and a lot of these things. But again, I think there's a really big gap in the conversation about our attachment systems, our boundaries, roadmap to intimacy. Like, how comfortable are we with talking about topics of money and the client experience and what happens when plans? Because if we can't even tolerate our own experience or we can't tolerate conflict, there's no way that that business is going to be a healthy business because it's inevitable. And that's actually the biggest difference for someone who has a secure attachment and someone who has an unhelpful attachment, let's say, is that in a secure relationship, a secure attachment, it means that there's innately room for fear and conflict because there's innately room for the repair. So that's that thing of how is that showing up in our businesses? Do we say there's no room for us to have conflict? If I needed to yell at you, Paul Mark, because if I was like, I need to engage in a conflict space with Paul Mark, can I hold that and then trust that you and I could have the repair on the other side of it so that we can be stronger and actually get in right relationship together?
And I've noticed that when it comes to something like that, for people who have been in the people pleasing, things have been compressed. So it's like when you shake up a soda bottle and then you open it, all of a sudden everything spews out. So it feels worse than it actually was. And it's just because it's like, I need to say this, I need to say this, and you're holding it in. And then when it comes out, it's forceful because you're not used to expressing yourself. And I do think it's important to be in relationships where we can call each other or, sit down with each other and say, hey, is there something going on with you? Here's what's going on with me. And to be able to say, hey, I see this happening or I see this pattern, and we're not taking it personally. I live by the five agreements. There was originally four, and then there's a fifth one that has its own book. And one of them is don't take it personally. And that is a thing that happens when people are criticized at work or when there is something that needs to be done right now. And a lot of people are used to, well, I want the strokes. I want all of the niceness stuff. I want the sandwich. And sometimes, especially in the restaurant industry or even in the movie industry, there are times where you just have to get it out. It's like this information because it's timely. This information, and then you're like spurting out the information, whatever you need first, and then walking away saying, please and thank you. And yeah, because you want to make sure you hit all the boxes. So I think it's important for us to really look at that. And even being in service, were there some celebrities that you encountered? Because we've talked about how some people who've made it in Hollywood who are just good people and they're just pleasant. And it's not about how talented they are or whatever, it's because they're easy to work with. And you and I both know what it's like to work with somebody that's not easy to work with. And to find people that we just kind of jive with.
Oh my God, this is glorious, first of all, that you're bringing this up. So, yeah, I had also worked in 2 Michelin star restaurants. One I managed, and then I was like, that was too much. And I just went back to serving in another one. So, I have actually seen quite a few really fun celebrities. My favorite was Peter Dinklage. He was
Who?
phenomenal, an absolute sweetheart. Him and his wife were just so wonderful as people. And part of me is like, how the heck do they not get beat down by the trolls, right? Because with eyes comes the not all the eyes that you want, and not all the
Exactly.
engagement and the connections with people that maybe you really want in your life. Yeah, I'm actually going to speak about an up and coming star. So, one of my childhood best friend is this insanely gorgeous woman named Taylor Mishak. She's actually currently filming her 2nd season of Going Dutch right now. Her name's Taylor Mishak. She plays the lead in the show Going Dutch. She
Okay.
also was in Little Dicky, hit like his TV show, Dave.
Oh,
And then,
Dave. Yes, Dave.
yeah, she's
Okay.
the you don't know about Pangea girl.
You know what?
Yeah,
I didn't put that together. That is the same. Oh my gosh.
I met her in 6th grade. And so we've been best friends since we were young. When we were like kids, and, she was getting the leads in the musicals and all these things, we were like, she's going to be a star, and she's gorgeous, right? But she is just the most grounded, wonderful human. Like the way that she can connect to people, speak to people, hold
Mhm.
space for things. And it's not that she's a robot. She can get angry just like any other person. But the way that she handles it with ease and grace, and she has wonderful boundaries. And it's like that shows through because of who she is on this personal level. That has created a container for her success, because then whatever curveballs come at her, she is able to handle it. It's kind of like fitness. It's like when we have one muscle that's atrophied, it ends up creating dysfunction in these other places.
Right.
I've had friends tear my best friend tore his bicep. He's still about to get out the sling. Sucks.
It's not just the muscle, it is all the helpers. It is the antagonist that is now stronger than that primary muscle. I remember as a massage therapist, we used to talk about working a joint. It wasn't just working the main mover of the joint, it's everything around. So 360 degrees. So you work above, below, and all the way around. And
Mhm.
that is something that I bring into my business. We can focus on where we see the bottleneck. And again, even when we're dealing with energy, sometimes the energy is not flowing. It might not just be where the energy is small. It could be where the energy is overactive, that, what's pulling it that way.
Exactly. Oh,
Mhm.
I love that. And I also loved how you talked about the helpers,
Mhm.
right? Because it's like, it's that same thing of like, and Laz, you gave so many good examples of times where you've had that wovenness of
Yeah.
working with friends. And then what happens when something comes to a close or an end, and then having our feelings about that, or, you know, just like how that wave goes. And what I like to think about too is in those like leadership positions, when we're in these business places, we absolutely have our choice and our willpower and a lot of these things that we give a lot of credit to, but there are a lot of other helpers, a lot of other like stabilizing muscles. Because like when you do a squat, it's not just one muscle. There's a bunch of other things that are having to engage, especially me when I'm on my own fitness journey. I don't always think about what position my head is in. I
Yeah.
have to start learning about my other helpers in order to get all of me into the alignment space so that we're working in a
Mhm.
cohesive ease space instead of the dis-ease. And it's like,
From
but it's
that.
the people who end up, myself, I'm really talking about myself, about when there's a lot of other helpers that I have either just never met before, who have been helping me without even knowing, not understanding how my boundary style was directly impacting the kinds of clients that I was calling in. So, right. So there's so many aspects of this, or how about my boundaries with money, things like that. It applies to all these places and spaces.
How do you
Little
create
squirrel moment.
structure? How do you create structure and strategy?
Yeah, so everything's about context. So, especially, let's say that I'm doing consulting for a business. Number one, we're going to pause, pull back, and assess the entire business. So, where are we and where do we want to go? And then it's looking at from once we have point A and point B, that's like our container. That's like we want to find the edges of where we are. And then we want to, and I got this one from Taylor Davis. She is fire.
She's a beast.
Clarify, stabilize, then expand. Most businesses are wobbling between, I like to actually, because it's three, I actually like to put it into a circle because we're going to circle through those things. But a lot of times what happens is that people are bouncing from clarification to expansion and they're skipping the stabilization phase. That works in your nervous system, that works in your business structures. So that's where I like to see where are we working from and that high level view. And then we have to just focus on the first thing that's creating those bottlenecks, those blockages, because we're not going to be able to get all the way down the river if there's a dam at the top. And a lot of times it might not be something that we even realize. So sometimes it's actually a mindset that's going on in the owner or an employee, or a lot of times businesses set up their employees for failure or by not having enough systems in place. Or this one's my favorite. This is an oldie but a goodie. Expectations versus agreements. That's it. I expect my employee to do their job. Well, do you have their job listing written out? Because if you can't track it, you can't measure it. And if you can't measure it, you can't change it. Let's start with capacity. I have been working on my own money capacity. So I grew up with family members who are like serial entrepreneurs. So I have a certain belief about how to make money. It takes hard work. You have to go harder. You have to do more. You have to do everything in this really specific way, or else your business will fail. I can't make money if I don't do this. That's where my beliefs are. My beliefs and my words are telling me what my capacity is. And so I don't have to do anything yet. That first stage is just become aware of it. Just notice it and don't change it. And then just starting to notice where that is. And that in itself can just start to get me feeling more safe with even seeing the construct, right? Because sometimes those constructs are like, don't look at me.
Yeah.
So from there, okay, so can I even get honest about what's not working for me? Am I just doing the insanity loop, trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result? If I am, and if I can get really honest with myself about where I'm at, then we start to grow our capacity for that. And that's a nervous system thing. If your limit is here, you don't grow by going over your limit. You grow by just staying a little bit under it, and that pushes it up. Otherwise, you're going to actually collapse your own capacity. I'm going to break everything and probably collapse the entire business and store. So then what we do is we just see where we want to go and we start to titrate our strategies. And sometimes it goes way faster than you think. But that's a lot of mindset stuff. Because if you do the mindset stuff, then usually your business strategy will explode.
All right. How do you support entrepreneurs in creating a business that's sustainable, authentic, and aligned?
It's all about them. It's not about my agenda. One of my other businesses is all about ice bath facilitation. I work with some pro MMA athletes. We do athletic recovery mindset for winning. And one of the things that I have really taken with me from being a professional ice bath facilitator is I cannot have an agenda when it comes to an ice bath, because if it's my goal that they get in the water and they do 3 minutes fully submerged to their chin, that is about me, the coach, and not about my client. So it's about the attunement of what would actually be supportive to the client for them to actually get the most growth. Because if my athlete, I have one athlete right now who's in camp, And she's fighting pro. This is high stakes. She's on TV. And if I think that I need to push her harder, but her body actually needs rest, then I could be part of the problem. So it's about assessing where someone's at and then helping to just bring awareness to that and then go on what the client needs, not on my agenda. So half the time, the most transformational work I've done with ice baths and entrepreneurs, high level athletes, has sometimes been not getting in the water.
So, Kelly, what's lighting you up these days? What's really lighting you up?
Doing different and like letting myself be a little unhinged, because I'm realizing that if doing more of the same of what I've been doing was going to work for me, it would have worked already by now. And so I was trying to be the person I thought I was supposed to be in order to be taken seriously, in order to make money, have a business, have people want to hear what I have to say. And I just had this moment where I was like, it's now or never. I have to just start being myself and like letting myself be unhinged, because also my version of unhinged, I'm realizing is not actually that wild. But like, you know what, Paul Mark, I dyed my hair bubblegum pink. And I've also been implementing all of my own social media strategies that I have been learning for 2 years. I'm hitting 10K reels. My lowest reels are like 4 or 5K minimums now. And I have been studying and learning all this stuff about social media, about marketing, brand, business, and it
Killing.
lights me up. And I kept offering it to people, and they were like, you don't know what you're talking about. So I was like, I'm just doing it for me. I'm going to be my own social proof. So I am slaying it, and I'm just not trying to prove my work to anyone and just be my work. Yes.
Ooh.
Do either of you listen to Queen Herbie at all?
Yes, of course.
Oh my God. She has this one song where she's like, be the weirdo that you, or I'm going to be the weirdo you respect. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay.
it's me.
I remember back when she was in her group back in the day. I've been a fan since then. And it's funny you bring her up because I remember when I saw her on like, I had heard the song before, Broken Hearted.
Yeah.
Broken Hearted, yes. So I remember that. I remember hearing that and I was jamming on that and I was like, this is great. And then they were on a morning show. And when I saw her, this is before I saw the video, and I was like, that right there, that is it. There are certain people that I see, and I was like, that right there, they have it. I don't know what it is, but that's what they have. And it's interesting because I think the first time I had that flash was seeing Prince. Like as a kid, I was like, I don't know what that is, but I need all of it. And the same thing with certain people, Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, Queen Herbie, even before she went solo, I saw it in her and I was like, that right there. And I can remember the first time I met you and I was like, this, I need some of this. You just have it, whatever it is.
Thank you, Paul Mark.
I've experienced it.
Hell yeah. And you know, it's funny because I was trying to suppress that it for so long because she felt so different, like so different that I couldn't reconcile that that differentness was wanted and valuable. And then trying to like chase that and find that in these other places. And then also having to get really honest with myself about my capacity, because I was like really leaning into being a trauma informed, somatically oriented practitioner, all of this stuff by just working in the transformational healing spaces. And then I had this moment a few months ago where I was just like, someone commented something on a video, or I got something that was just like a slightly tension filled experience. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this way anymore, because I noticed of how much it racked my body. And she was telling me that this is too much and this is not the place to grow right now. Then when I shifted it and combined all of my stuff together to business and somatics, it felt lighter and easier. And I'm still technically doing healing and transformation, But now the vehicle allows my body to be in more ease where it's not chronically like punching myself in the face with triggers every day, because that's not helpful. Because it's the Elizabeth Gilbert thing. She talks about everything's going to have its shit sandwich.
Right.
So it's like, which one do you want to take a bite out of? And I'm like, well, some are less stinky. And I want.
Just because we're trauma informed and masters doesn't mean we have to talk about it. People don't really hear about it all the time. Most people don't want to hear about it. High performers don't want to hear about it. They want to hear about, how can you help me get what I want?
Exactly.
Well, and also when we're talking about being recovered people pleasers, and we get into social media where it is people pleasing. You know, it's all about, what are my numbers doing today? Do you really like me? And one of the best things that I learned was, even if somebody is a hater, the algorithm just sees the numbers. It just sees that somebody is engaging. It doesn't care how they're engaging. You care how they're engaging. But the fact is, a number is a number, and engagement is engagement. So,
Yes.
and I've noticed that because there are so many people who are anti whatever, and then going on and engaging, going on and engaging, and then just building more traffic for whatever it is they say that they don't want to support. Just like when I'm working with people and I'm getting them to create affirmations or talking about manifestations, the first thing people come up with is, well, I don't want blah, blah, blah. Well, so you're giving energy to what you say you don't want. The universe does not understand our concept of a negative. So now you're putting so much energy into what you say you don't want. And I've noticed that dealing with social media, there are those people who just want to pour out the negativity, and you have to have some boundaries there, some really healthy boundaries. What are some deal breakers, or have you encountered some deal breakers in traditional corporate structure that made you take the entrepreneurial path?
Yeah. I think that I realized that I just can't play in their rigid structures that don't allow for the spirit of the law instead of the letter of the law. It doesn't work for me, because I think that a lot of the really corporatized things, a lot of business structures in general have these, literally their business has an overbounded boundary or a rigid boundary that is not actually supportive to humans, because humans in general, everything is not black and white. It doesn't work that way. Some things can be black and white, but not everything is. And so that doesn't work for me. And I noticed that if I forced myself to stay in the overbounded structures, it crushed me, like physically and emotionally, because I was constantly suppressing, repressing, depressing, and that created physical ailments in my body. So, and when I was working in the second Michelin star place where I demoted myself, where I was like, I will be a server, I will not be in management. I ended up being lead server, but the projector in me was like, no, I have to help. I see the difference. But oh well. But anyway, I ended up throwing my back out 3 times in 8 months from
Dang.
stress of it. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. It's gonna kill me. And that's where this is one of my most like controversial things that I say, is that you're lying to yourself if you say that life is mind over matter, because it's actually
Yeah.
mind with matter.
Right? Well, if you don't mind, it doesn't matter.
And how can you be mind over matter when matter has its own mind, your nervous system?
There are certain leader types that are like the reluctant leader, and I have taken jobs myself where it's like, this is going to be, and I'll just, my terminology was a no-brainer job. It's like I had something that was really heavy, and then I needed a palate cleanser, as it were. And I get in there, and then I'm looking at it, and it's like, oh no, this does not work. And there's only so long that I can be in it where it's like, okay, it's above my pay grade. I don't care. I'm doing it. And then next thing you know, I'm in a leadership role. And it's like, darn it, I didn't mean to do that this time. I did not mean for that to happen.
Well, that's our unconscious belief structures. Those constructs have deeper hooks. And we end up playing out these unconscious patterns. I had my first restaurant job in the Michelin where I was the manager. And then that burnt me out so much that I ended up working at another restaurant. Just all I could handle were lunches. I was like, literally, I was making like $300 a week at one point in Brooklyn. And that was like barely getting me by. And then I
Damn.
ended up working in this other Michelin place. But what I noticed is that when I was throwing my back out in that second Michelin place, I kind of had that moment of like, I am just repeating these patterns of my strategy, of my belief systems, that I was trading also the beautiful efficiency and all the gorgeous things that came with these high-end restaurants, but that weren't actually functional for me as a person. And I was like, wow, I'm going to keep playing this out until I decide to do different. It's tough
Decisions.
sometimes.
And decisions are important.
So Kelly, if you're talking to a person who's just starting out in business, what guidance would you tell them or try to give them from the jump?
Who are you surrounding yourself with? That would actually be my first invitation to them. Who do you hang out with? What do they say? How do they support you or not support you? And also, are you hanging out with people who are inviting you forward or holding you back? And from a biological and nervous system perspective, your nervous system regulates to the people around you biologically. So you become the people you hang out with. I had a very tough situation like probably 6 months ago where I had to even pause a friendship because it was keeping me stuck in the drama triangle and the OTT, and I was drowning. And I realized that I had to make a loving and strong boundary, and I had to do it. And then I noticed that my energy got freer. I started calling in other people who had bigger capacities for me, who were making 10 grand in a month, or these people who were like, they had just slightly bigger nervous system capacities for business, for money. Their self-talk was loving towards themselves. They weren't perpetually trauma dumping with me. And it's not that I cut off friends because there was anything wrong, bad, or broken about them, but I had to start to understand and scale that in myself because we co-create with our environment, and our environment is also our community. And that would probably be the most difficult and the biggest piece of advice for anyone starting out.
So, where can we hear more from you?
Right now, I am on Instagram at Spiritual Sugar Mama. And then also, I have another company called Big Wave Industries. And that's where we do a lot more of our athletic recovery. We also do the business consulting with health and wellness businesses. And so we also have that. And then my partner as well. So I have my life partner and my business partner, Kai. His Instagram is Kaizen Ocean Wave. Him and I work together right now. One of our biggest passions is doing ideal client work and helping people get their health and wellness businesses in alignment so that you can have freedom, independence, and a structure that works for you, not that works you. So I'd say Instagram right now is our best place to find us.
And
Awesome.
your Instagram is on fire right now too, because
Yeah.
I love every time I get on and I'm going to post a little thing, with whatever I feel like is going on, or I am answering, or I've gotten pinged because somebody sent me a message. And so I'm going on and it's just like, let's just see what's coming up. And it just warms my heart. It gives me so much joy when I see you showing up with such elegance and grace.
Thank you. No one blows up on social media by accident anymore. It's all strategy. It's all learning how to use your skills. Thank you so much for that reflection, Paul, because sometimes I still have my own doubts that pop up, but I'm just not feeding them anymore. Thank you so much for that. It really feels beautiful to be seen and recognized for the hard work that I'm giving to myself now. Thank you, Laz. Thank you, Paul Mark, so much for having
Of
me on
course.
here today. It has honestly been a beautiful place for me to expand my capacity to be in my authentic voice and speak to these things that I care so deeply about. A big tenet of my business with my partner Kai is a rising tide lifts all ships. And that's what I'm here for. Big wave, baby.
Thank you for showing up and literally letting your hair down with us. And I want to see more people having those types of situations, those types of relationships where there is genuine laughter, there's genuine joy.
Mhm.
And there's just so much that I don't even think I have the words for it. It's a feeling, it's a lightness in my heart, it's a lifting in my chest to be able to spend time with you. And, even when you're sending me a voice message or a Marco Polo, and it's like there are some people who will message you and you're like, I don't want to talk to them today.
D&D, real quick.
Like my friend Wendy used to have the ringtone, back in the day. Dun, 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 dun. And she actually made a little song about it. She's like, I don't want to talk to you right now. And then she would like put it on ignore.
I'm living for it. Oh God, I miss
That's
ringtones.
hilarious.
I
Ah,
love that. Yeah, I used to actually cultivate ringtones for different people. Honestly, I think it's because I got mad at Verizon. When I left Verizon, all my cultivated ringtones stayed there. I have stayed with one, so I went from Verizon to Spectrum and stayed there. I would love for one of them to decide to pay us,
Facts.
preferably Spectrum. And if anybody wants to sponsor us, show me a beverage. I will drink it on camera.
I literally almost today, I chose not to have an update because I know that my nervous system needs to rest today. So I was like, okay. But I was like, literally, I was like, should I like bring on update and be like, not sponsored by, but I endorse.
Okay.
You know what? And my car. My car is never too far away from me.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
What
yeah.
is what?
That car is something.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
love
herbal thing? Yeah.
yeah, love
It's
that.
lit.
That's my number one support. I'm an affiliate of them after 2 years of using it. And then I became an affiliate because I was like, I love this so much. I don't even have to pretend. I just have to talk about my actual experience with them. That's actually been one of my number one ways for also regulating myself when I know I'm going to have either a tough day or I have to have tough conversations within the business. Don't try it for the first time right before needing to have a tough conversation. Like get to know it for a second because occasionally it will bring up feelings. Like I was repressing some anger and I took half a chew the other day and I was like, oh no, I have to feel it.
Oh, if you are feeling it, it'll come up.
It allowed me to feel it in a way that didn't crush me or make me explode. And then I
Right.
moved through it with more grace and ease and actually faster. Then I was able to actually have an entire business work day with my partner and we were talking about difficult things. And I was like, you look at that, nature just supporting us.
I'm
Well,
gonna
and
get some. I've only had it at Condor.
so
Mhm.
I actually, Stephanie, love you dearly. The chews, not my favorite, but that tincture is on fire. I have tincture in every room in the house. I have one that rides with me whenever I'm going, and like whenever I'm doing a fair or if I'm going to speak somewhere, there is an heir and a spare because I also have some of the small sample sizes. I have a little bottle here, a little bottle there, just in case I forget to do it before I leave the house to have my little dropper full. And I enjoy that stuff so much. If they want to sponsor us, yes, please. Yes. And actually, a sponsorship could just be send me a case of the tincture. I
Oh my
would love that.
actually that's another thing too that we're actually really leaning into is this idea of how to create more passive income, affiliate codes, promoting brands, brand deals. That's another thing that Kai and I have been really into, we're learning more about, and we're also implementing for some businesses and ourselves. Wait, did you try the chew or the tincture? I'd really be interested because I
Both.
actually loved the chews, and
Both.
I'm one of the few people who loved them. So I want to know your take or which one you tried. Both? Do you have a favorite? No?
I mean, I like the tinctures because I don't have to chew it.
Just, yeah, it's kind of it's like a little bit
It's
easier
it. Huh?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the tincture because it tastes better.
Yeah, I think it goes down easier for sure.
Well,
Well, now that this is now a podcast about and pathogenics.
but you know what? I think that's really on brand for this conversation because if you're doing affiliate marketing, like don't just look for something that you know you can sell.
Yeah.
Be a product of the product. Like I have had multiple people in my family who have done things like party light. Like I have party light candles still, and I love them. Like not enough to like hawk them, to be out there talking about it. And actually, I don't even think that they're still doing affiliate. I was in Arbonne for a while, and because skincare was really important, is still important to me. And I used to have to make my own because I have weird allergies. So when you're allergic to something that is in everything, you have to make your own stuff. And that's another thing about the chews. The chews have lavender, which is one of my allergies, but definitely allergic to strawberries and lavender. They're in everything.
Everything.
And I'm like, it's like every berry. Oh, and we just and they'll put a strawberry on something and not tell you it's on there.
Well, Mark, don't get me started on the lavender thing because I think that we have this obsession in our culture about being calm, but calm is not actually necessarily meaning that we're in a good place in our nervous system. I think a lot of people mistake calmness for being shut down and non-reactive. And that's like another thing I will go off on in another day on another podcast about how having a regulated nervous system is not having a calm nervous system. It means that you don't spill over into explosions or into completely suppressing and getting depressed. And I'm like, that's why I think everyone's putting lavender into everything because they're like, I need to push all the emotions down. And I'm like, okay.
And I'm an aromatherapist. I understand that it is taught that lavender just balances out things.
Yeah.
And it is also taught that peppermint is too strong to go on the skin neat. Not my skin.
Right? Context
again,
is everything.
Yes. Yeah. And we're looking at now, who made those decisions. And I don't necessarily look like those people that made those decisions. So I'm like, I can do this. And I was like, you know what? You can put rosemary with peppermint and be perfectly fine. Or you could put tea tree with peppermint. There's so many different things you can do. Like peppermint and ginger. I'm okay with that. Let's do that. Take the lavender out, we don't have to have lavender in everything, but and plus lavender ends up being, of the euphorics, it's the cheapest. So let's be honest.
And I'm not anti-lavender. I just am like, right. I think it's like, okay, we're going a little hard.
It's overused for sure.
Well,
so let's get back to the conversation at hand. I actually enjoy going on side quests with you. That is a fantastic thing. So I definitely you have carte blanche to take me on a side quest anytime because I enjoy the journey with you. What would you like to give our audience permission to do?
I want to give you permission to get personal with yourself. I want to give you permission to take the space to take even 30 seconds out of your day to pause, pull back, and get personal. That's it.
I can't wait to get personal with myself. Just gave y'all a major key. That's why people don't get personal with other people.
Right?
Yeah. We have to have tolerance for ourselves first so that we can tolerate our own emotions in the relational aspect to anything and everything, people, money, stubbing your toe, your dog who won't stop licking your foot. That's the personal one I'm speaking about.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for joining us here in the portal. And I want to give you guys permission to find something that you really enjoy and care about and make that your job. So, thank you for joining us here in the portal. Please like and follow for more. Share. Share with a friend. Hello. Hi. Okay. Sharing is caring. So, share this out with a friend. 2, 3, 4, 10. And if you have any questions or topics that you wish for us to address, please send them to thepermissionportal@gmail.com. And remember,
The portal is always open.